Hey guys, here we are again. Got a 16 horsepower Kohler powered shredder here. It's a high capacity machine. We only use it about 3 days a year. Most of the time it's under this tarp. Okay, so we got all the tools we need here, which is not much. I got one engine release kit, which is enough for the motor. I got my safety goggles, which are a must. I got rubber gloves. I got my power tool. I got my socket, and I got my brush. So I got safety glasses and skin protection here. We don't have compressed air here, so I'm going to use a brush to clean around the base of the spark plug to make sure that no dirt falls into the engine. I'm going to remove the ignition wire and clean around the base here. I got my ratchet and socket. I'm going to remove the spark plug and inject 2 ounces of engine release, which is more than enough to treat this type of engine. Go. Okay, so I got my injector bottle here. The long neck is to reach past the valves into the combustion chamber to deliver the engine release to the right area. Now I'm going to add 2 ounces of engine release. All right. Okay, so you need to let the engine release sit for about 10 to 14 days. So I'm going to take the spark plug and put it in hand tight. Okay, and now we're going to put the tarp over, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Waiting the 10 to 14 days for the engine release to dissolve the corrosion in your engine will ensure that when you free it up, you don't damage it internally. If there's one thing that we got here, it's leaves. We're back. It's been 14 days since it's been sitting in the engine. Now I'm going to take the spark plug out. I'm going to place a rag over the spark plug hole so that when I free up my engine with the impact, the rag catches the engine release being blown out of the engine. Now the next step is to remove the pull start. There we go. An impact is the only tool you're going to need to shake things loose. A breaker bar or any other tool is only going to damage your engine internally. Now, what you're after is the nut inside the ratchet ring that attaches the flywheel to the engine. I'm going to put my impact on here to make sure that it's in place. I got my rag over the spark plug hole so that when I shake things loose, it catches the engine release being blown out of the engine. Short bursts from the impact are what's going to shake things loose. You got to make sure that your face is away from the spark plug hole so you're protected. And now I'm going to give it a couple of short bursts to see if it goes. Before shaking your engine loose, make sure your fuel supply is turned off and you have a fire extinguisher handy. One stray spark ruin your day. Now that the engine's moved, I'm going to add an additional ounce of engine release, come back in a day, and get her to free up. I'm going to add my additional ounce of engine release. Okay, and we're going to come back in a day and get her to free up. Since we're going to wait an additional 24 hours, I'm going to put the pull start back on, come back tomorrow, give it a couple of cranks, we should be good. I'm going to install the pull start, and tomorrow we're going to see whether or not we're going to use the pull start or the starter to crank the engine. I'm putting the spark plug in hand tight so that nothing foreign can fall into the cylinder. Just going to tighten up these screws here. And we'll be back in 24 hours. We're going to use the starter to crank the engine. Never use a starter to break free the engine. Only use an impact. That's the only tool for the job. I got my hand on the rag that's going to catch the engine release that's going to be blown out of the cylinder. Now I'm going to crank the engine. there you go, it's freed up. In closing, engine release saved us a lot of money with this engine. Make sure you check the online instructions and the kit calculator before you order to ensure that you know exactly what you're getting yourself into before you start your project.